The next person who would like to speak is Daryl Finley, another one of Lizzie's uncles.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity. There will never be words to express my feelings in this regard. However, I have a few which I would like to address to the court. First of all, I'd like to describe what Elizabeth Lizzie Marriott meant to me. Lizzie Marriott had and continues to be a strong influence, a strong impact on me. Through her eyes, I reaffirmed my love of the undersea world and its inhabitants. Over the 18 years, I have been an avid underwater videographer who already loved sharing sharing with people the wonders I had seen and experienced. Upon meeting Lizzie when she was 13, I quickly realized that she also had a love of marine life. It was at this time that I mentioned that there wasn't a program for aspiring young marine biologists at the Northeastern University Marine Labs in Nahant, Massachusetts. I joyfully followed Lizzie's progress at the Marine Lab in the summers, and as she began working as a volunteer in the New England Aquarium, and then eventually as a student at UNH, just beginning to study marine biology. I raved to my friends who worked in marine biology positions about this intrepid explorer I knew and the great future intern she would make. I was so proud, having played a small role in shaping what would have been a bright future. What made Lizzie special was her openness, lack of preconception or prejudging of anything or anyone. Her mind was open to what could be, which is much more rare than it should be. A sense of silly whimsy was part of this, a very good part, and one which I pay honor to today. Even the wisest people cover a little bit of whimsy now and then. I do not consider openness a weakness in Lizzie's character. In fact, it is one of her greatest strengths. However, this cunning, predatory manipulator was able to temporarily turn this strength against Lizzie before the depth of his depravity was revealed. I stand here to remind the court of the multiple victims of the crime that unfolded that dark night. I seriously do not understand how the actions of that night were taken so lightly by the people that came and saw Lizzie later that night. As having not taken a stand implies some acceptance on some level, having not done the right thing. This simply is not right in any regard, no matter the assumed circumstances. One voice is all they would have taken to make a difference, even after Lizzie's could no longer be heard. Now, due to the actions of the defendant, my passions are diminished by the loss of Lizzie's whimsical viewpoint. They had so long brought light when life felt dim. Dim is my life without Lizzie. There is no happiness to be found in new aquatic adventures, only a dark hollow where my heart once had been. I have nothing good to say on this topic, as nothing will bring back sweet Lizzie to us. However, I will implore the court to set an example here and now that stands as atonement for both the loss of the positive influence of Lizzie's life and the countless lives she would have touched. As with the dependent, not even hell would take such a diseased soul. Though I'm just part of the villagers that had a hand in raising an angel, which is Lizzie. I share the grief of an uncle, yet nowhere near that of Lizzie's parents and brother have had to endure over the past 2 years. Each night, I must mentally will myself to sleep. Upon waking, must once again confront a world without the light which was Lizzie. Life is diminished without Lizzie. I challenge you to kindle in your own light, brighten this world from the darkness that sits before you, as Lizzie would have done. Be like Lizzie, strong in conviction, loving in acceptance, deep in caring, and above all, honest to yourself. Give Lizzie a voice again, one voice. Even one voice makes a difference. Thank you.